What is going on, everybody? I appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode of Second Guessing with Stressan. This is a special impromptu episode in which I am joined by a very special guest, voice of the Houston Texans, Marc Vandermeer. Welcome, Marc.
Thanks for having me on. Here we go. That music is so intense, man. I feel the playoff fever. Feel the tension building for tomorrow.
Yeah, so I guess that could lead me to my first question. I mean, we all want to know: Are you blessing or are you stressing right now?
I'm always blessing. Are you kidding? This is the NFL. We're in the postseason. I think a lot of people, I get that the regular season wasn't everything you hoped it could be. But guess what? Here you are. You're in the tournament and you got a chance to advance. And that's what it's all about, really. Look, I've been around here since the start of it. And I remember the first year the Texans got in the postseason, 2011, and how euphoric that was, and beating the Bengals and all of that. Then the next year, I also remember losing the finale at Indy, where you fly home and you just blew home field advantage throughout. All you had to do was beat them. And they were an improving team. They were a good team that year. They were an improving team. You lost. You're flying home. So not only you missed the bye in home field throughout, now you got to play on Saturday. It was a Sunday game. Now you got to play on Saturday. Short week for the Bengals, who you just beat the year before. So it felt like we just did this, and I got to do this again. What a disappointment. Yet, when I got back and I saw the setup, I saw the field, and I saw the playoff signage, and I thought, we're in the playoffs. Got to go. And I thought that was actually, even though it wasn't handled well down the stretch with losing 3 out of the last 4. The team did not perform up to expectations. Gary Kubiak did a great job coaching the team that week, getting them ready for a hot Bengals team that was a big problem. A lot of people picked the Texans to lose that game, and they won that game. Now, they lost in the next round to New England up there, but they won that game. And no 2 years are alike. I don't think this year is like that year, but it's similar in that you didn't play great, obviously. You didn't play great at Kansas City. You played terribly against Baltimore. But D'Amico, I think, righted the ship with a great week of preparation against the Titans and the results of that preparation. They prepped well, and they got the results, and they had a real fun day. And I think that helps them. They remember Bill O'Brien used to say every week is its own season. I think they had a really good week season against the Tennessee Titans last week. Good prep, handled the game great. We all debated, should they play the starters? Should they not play the starters? How should they handle that? Well, it was great. I mean, he goes 6 for 6. CJ, leave the game. Good, healthy, bubble wrap. Next week, we'll see you. And I just think everybody had fun, a good time, and they're ready for this moment. If they beat the Chargers, I'm going to look back at that Titan week and say, that's how they did it. They got it right against Tennessee, the prep, the results, and they used that to propel them to a great week of prep and the results against the Chargers. And I'm hoping I'm saying that tomorrow at about 6:45 Central.
Well, I do too, and I agree. I don't think you could have asked for a better outcome for that Titans game. I feel like that was getting a bad taste out of your mouth, and it's almost like when you're shooting hoops, like you don't want to end on a miss, you want to end on a make, and that's basically what we did on offense. So we got good momentum going forward. But I would like to ask you, I mean, how do you feel about the national media? You know, Rex Ryan calling this a bye week, and other pundits, everyone counting us out. It feels eerily similar to last year against the Browns when we heard the same kind of dialogue. Do you feel like that is warranted? Does it matter to you? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a lot of things. First of all, last year it happened because he just got blown out by the Browns. And even though CJ didn't play in that game, the thought was, oh man, Flacco just carved him up, But Flacco, even in the blowout, he threw 2 picks in that game. He threw 2 interceptions while he was dealing to Amari Cooper as the nightmare, as I recall that afternoon. But then they took care of business in the postseason. I think guys like Rex, as knowledgeable as they are, they don't look inside the bottle. They don't look at the ingredients of what this is. They look at the package, and this team lost horribly on Christmas Day, and they ruined my Christmas. I was all set to watch a great game on Netflix, and when you don't have a dog in the fight, you just want to see a great game. Last night, Notre Dame, Penn State, I want to see a great game. People watch the Texans on Christmas. They want to see a great game. And all of a sudden, the Ravens are just steamrolling the Texans. And that's it, right? So you remember that and you say, this team's not ready for anything big. Now, how could they be ready? Now, those of us who live inside the bottle and know what the ingredients are know that there's some extenuating circumstances. The team played horribly against Baltimore. There were a lot of reasons for that. I mean, I could go on. There are no excuses here, Garrett, but there are reasons for what they did. They have been operating without four defensive starters, because no Petrie, no Jimmy Ward, no Aziz, and no Foley Fatakasi, who I think is a very underrated piece of this whole thing. That, look, I'm not saying that, he's going to the Hall of Fame, but in the interior of that D line, I think he's really important against the run. And he would have come in real handy in that game. So would Aziz. And I just think that the 4-day rest, they didn't handle it well. It backfired on them. Whatever they didn't work. It didn't work. They got blown out. It was awful. 4 days rest, terrible. The Ravens had 4 days rest. They handled it great. Congratulations. You guys got the big 31-2 victory. But you got to be able, they all say flush it. You got to be able to do that because every week it's a new season, right? I mean, you can bounce back and put together a performance that's going to have people talking against the LA Chargers. And I think with the national media, they're not, I get it because they looked at those results and they think the Chargers are coming in here hot. The Chargers do have a lot going for them at that scoring defense and, running game. Now, I think the backs are a little banged up. Herbert, they're using him in the right way, and, Harbaugh and all that stuff. But hey, you're going to play in this building, just about 30 yards to my left here. They're going to be playing, maybe a few more yards than that. They're going to be playing, and we all saw how they came out with fire last year, and they're going to come out with fire and energy and all of that stuff against the Chargers. We'll see if it's enough. I'm not predicting anything, but I'd be shocked if they don't play a whole lot better than they did in the last time they were in this building and when they went up to Kansas City as well, for that matter.
I think you make a lot of great points. I mean, obviously, a lot of us, were at the lowest of lows after that Ravens game. But like you mentioned, it's a new season. I feel like fans have kind of turned the page as well and kind of realized that. And I really like that you pointed out, the health of the defensive front seven. Foley Fatakasi is a name you mentioned that I feel like is a very underrated piece. He's not like the big flashy name, but he seems to be critical for our run defense, which the Chargers, that's how they want to move the ball on offense. So I feel like that between that front seven being healthy, we got all of our linebackers back. For the first time, we'll see Christian Harris and Aziz Alshire on the field together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that coupled with the fact that, in my opinion, I feel like D'Amico Ryans is an elite defensive game planner, especially for big games. I kind of have a little bit of hope that maybe that Ravens game, he kind of didn't give it his all. We kind of saw that last year against the Browns. We got throttled by them, but, Amari Cooper went off against us, and we all asked, why didn't Derek Stingley shadow? And he said, we don't do that. And then turn around 2-3 weeks later, we play them Derek Stingley shadow. So do you feel like there's a little bit of that element too, or maybe some of the cards were kept close to the vest on offense and defense? We might see some new stuff now that it's postseason.
I think there will be some new wrinkles, but you don't have time to really go wholesale here unless they spent that week and a half prior to the Titans game. All right, let's tweak this, tweak that. We're not going to reveal anything against the Titans, but they could work on some things that week because they could handle that more like a fourth preseason game. In the old days with the fourth preseason game, you knew you weren't going to play the starters, right? So the starters were actually practicing the game plan against the opening opponent, and the reserves would play that fourth preseason game. And I think that this could be handled similarly, where during the week getting ready for the Titans, all right, let's work on some things like Deontay Johnson, how he's really going to fit in with the offense, for instance, and get it ready for the Charger game or whoever they were going to face because they didn't know the opponent at that point. So I think there's an element of that. Another thing I think that should give people a little bit of hope here and optimism, and we'll see how it plays out. Again, I mean, here we are before the game. But when this team really has the pressure on, they're a different team because, they lose to Green Bay and they come home, they got to play the Colts again. And you're thinking, okay, you just lost to Green Bay. How are you going to show up against the Colts? Well, they showed up well. They beat the Colts. They swept the Colts. But I think after sweeping the Colts, it was a weird dynamic that I've never seen here before, where you kind of felt like you had the division wrapped up at that point. Not that it wasn't clinched. You could melt down like the Jags did last year, like the Titans did the year before, but it felt like, okay, we're in good shape. And then you start to hit the short week against the Jets, didn't handle that well. And then you got the Lions, played well, but didn't win the game, weren't able to close it out. And now you go to Dallas, and again, the pressure's on again, and they whip them. So I think every time the pressure's on. Now, let me take you to the Dolphin game, all right? Because you lose to the Titans at home. You just obviously had a horrible day. Got to bounce back against the Jags. They did. They beat the Jags on the road. Okay, good. Now you get the bye. You play the Dolphins. There was a ton of pressure against the Dolphins because you had the gauntlet of the 3 games in 11 days. Had to get that one at home because if you don't get that one, oh no. Here come the Colts. They were playing later that day, and they had, I wouldn't call it great momentum, but maybe Uncle Mo was starting to, bat an eye at them. And you took care of business against the Dolphins. I think this team with the pressure on is a different team. The pressure's on right now. Let's go. I think it'll be a different kind of performance against the Chargers than you saw against the Ravens for sure.
That's a great point. I love that. I know you got to go here in just a few minutes, so I'll get one more question before you go. Last year, the Browns game, I was there in attendance, and, I've been to pretty much probably 80% of the home games since inception. So in my opinion, that was one of, if not the loudest, I think maybe the loudest I've heard NRG. I would say maybe the JJ Watt pick 6 against Cincy would rival that. But, the stadium, everyone was singing Don't Stop Believing. Like, it was just like heaven on earth. It was immaculate vibes. Can you talk about that? And then going into this game, how do you expect the atmosphere to be, and how much can an effect can the crowd have?
Well, I think the crowd needs to be fed a good situation to react that way, right?
Yep.
Because look, if you're down 10-7 in the third quarter, 17-10, something like that, the crowd will be into it. But, the moment they had last year, what was it, between the third and fourth quarter with the Don't Stop Believing? I mean, they already had, were both pick sixes before that. I can't remember, but it was an electric night and afternoon night. Starts out as a day game, turns into a night game. The 2 most perfect days. Well, there's 3 perfect days in franchise history. There's the opener against the Cowboys, which was loud AF. I mean, I got to tell you that was loud. All right. It was indescribably loud that night. Can you imagine? And then you get the Bengals in 2011, the playoff game, 2012 calendar year, but 2011 season. That was a perfect day. I mean, it's 10-10, Watt pick 6, second half, Arian touchdown. Andre Johnson scores in his first playoff game. Boom, perfect day. It was just absolutely fantastic. What happened the next week wasn't as perfect. And last year against the Browns, another perfect day. D'Amico's playoff debut, 2 pick 6s, CJ going off, perfect quarterback rating, right? I mean, just an incredible night, day, whatever. Obviously, the next week didn't go as well. But those 3 days, I'll always remember as perfect days in the history of this franchise. And I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. That's the beauty of this thing, right? We don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen. I think the fires are going to have a little bit of an effect. And I hate to say it, and I hate to see it because it's so serious. But we know from hurricanes, when the seriousness of life kind of bleed into what my buddy John Lopez calls the toy department of life, which is sports, right? This is the toy department of life, sports. But this is so serious. When the Texans have had to deal with hurricane aftermath like Harvey, didn't handle it well. I mean, the place was going nuts when they played the Jaguars. JJ out of the tunnel, Liberty White waving the flag. Awesome. They get bludgeoned by the Jaguars that day. That was Hurricane Harvey, right? Hurricane Ike in 2008. You start out 0-4. And almost 0-5 after the aftermath of that. Even Rita and Katrina, 2005, bad season, 2-14. I'm not blaming the hurricane for those seasons, but I just think the backdrop of something so serious doesn't have the most positive effect when you're talking about trying to play a game, even if you're playing it for a living. So, and I hate to see it. I hate to say it. I'm wondering if it's a factor because they had to adjust practice. Maybe it motivates them. Maybe they're awesome, but I know
like
what
the
it's
Astros.
Yeah, maybe it's great for them. I don't know. Yeah, the Astros. That took a while though. You had some time.
Yeah, baseball's different. You're not facing a single elimination game.
Yeah,
I mean, these people have homes and family. They're like you hate to say it, but it has to be a distraction.
I think the 2008 Astros had a Harvey problem. I mean, gotta get my Hurricanes confused. An Ike problem because didn't they have to go to Milwaukee to complete a series or something? And it was just weird. And they were actually in contention for a postseason berth at that time when Ike hit. And I think that contributed, I'm not going to say cause, but it contributed to a bad finish for them. So,
No, that's a good point. Well, I appreciate you, joining on such short notice. Us fans are very appreciative of all that you do. I mean, obviously, you're known for the play-by-play, but you're also on the radio daily. The shows you do with John Harris, with D'Amico and Nick Cassero, I think that is incredible. I don't feel like a lot of other franchises do that. I mean, the access that all you guys give us to this team is insane. And as much as y'all give us content-wise, like we could still consume 100x more. So we appreciate the efforts y'all put in, and y'all are doing a great job.
well, I appreciate it, Garrett, and everything you do for posting our videos. I really like that. You amplify the videos we get with Nick and D'Amico. It's good stuff. And everybody, look, it's fun. I was watching this show called We Are Wrexham. You know what that is, with Ryan Reynolds
Yep.
and Rob McElhenney. They own this
Mm-hmm.
soccer football team in England, in Wales, actually. And I was watching it, and it kind of, I mean, that's obviously a smaller scale, but I was thinking, this is a club. This is a family. It's like one big Texans family. And we all live and die with the great moments and the frustrating moments. And it's so much fun to be a part of the ride. And, I also think that win or lose tomorrow, wherever this postseason ends up, we're building a good program here with D'Amico and Nick, and the foundation is real solid. You got Derek Stingley going first team All-Pro today. You got a lot of great pieces and athletes, and the rest of the division looks like a mess, which is awesome. So let's just keep it going here, man. Let's keep it going this postseason. Get ready for 2025 as well, but I prefer after the Super Bowl to do that. So let's see where the ride takes us. And I'm so excited about the Texans and Chargers on Saturday.
Well, that's awesome. Can I ask you one last quick question? And then I think I may stay on the live afterwards. So when you're done, you should be able to click exit or end stream.
Sure.
Yeah, so over under how many rock and rolls tomorrow on the broadcast?
Well, I don't know if you asked me this before, but like rock and roll, I only say it for certain kinds of things. Did I say it? I did say it for Dameon Pierce last week. That was rock and roll. That was, certain touchdowns. I'm going to say it.
So we'll
Certain
put it
ones
at
I'm
half.
not.
Over under half
Oh,
rock
we're
and roll.
definitely getting one tomorrow.
Okay.
We are definitely getting at least one.
Okay.
Now, I'll only say it twice if it's like too like long or like really dramatic, and it's hard for me to describe how that
Two
arrives.
pick
I started
sixes like
doing
in the
that.
wild card last year
Yeah,
versus
let's
the
do that.
Browns.
I'll sign up for 2 pick sixes, right? I'll say whatever you want if they get 2 pick sixes. I'll say smooth jazz.
Can you drop a "We
Tejano.
blessing"?
Oh, blessing all the way, baby. This is
There you
what,
go.
listen,
Drop a
I
blessing on
love
there.
what I do. I'm really fortunate to have this gig with this fan base and the McNairs and this organization. It's fun, and let's keep it going. Let's keep it going.
I appreciate you, Mark. We can't wait to listen to you have some great calls tomorrow.
All right, Garrett. Thanks a lot. Go Texans.
Yes, sir. All right, fellas. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it going live here for just a minute. That was awesome. I hit up Mark earlier today, just thinking, man, it'd be cool to kind of get his takes on the game. If y'all got any questions while I'm here, just hit me up. I know I had a live stream on Wednesday, kind of did that, but I mean, this is one of those weeks, playoff football. It's like the week just takes forever to go by. So this is probably an easier way to make time go by. I'm definitely amped up. I feel good about the game. If you hadn't seen it, I wrote a pretty lengthy, in-depth article where I broke down anything and everything. I put stats, all kind of good stuff. I put video clips of, D'Amico, Caserio, CJ, all kind of players. So if you haven't, go check it out. It's on my website, houstonstressans.com. But yeah, man, I'm just amped up about this. BG, I appreciate you. I kind of want to do it to where it was a Q&A, but he was kind of limited on time. So I'll see if he'll be down another time to do a Q&A. He seems to be, I mean, he doesn't seem to be, he is an awesome guy. He's a great guy. I kind of been blown away, like as I've been doing this, like the people that I talk to, whether it's Mark or other just media members, like Sean Pendergast is another guy with Sports Radio 610. I mean, pretty much every media member in Houston, whether it's radio or journalists, they all seem to be, one, really good people, and two, very down to earth and very approachable. You could definitely see in a situation where some of these types may feel like, they're better than somebody. I don't get that case from anybody in this community. So I think it's a really cool thing we got going on. But yeah, shout out James Roy. Appreciate you typing in. Key to victory on offense and defense. The cliche answer for that is stopping the run and running the ball. Obviously the Chargers, it's a Jim Harbaugh led team. The identity of his team and also, his brother's teams and even his team back on the Niners and just last year in Michigan. It's a boring brand of football. They basically try to shorten the game by running the ball, running the clock, get 2, 3, 4 yards a gain, keep it in third and manageable. Don't make mistakes. Don't give up sacks. They try and do that, play field position. But I guess like a more in-depth answer of that for offense would be, for us to convert in the red zone because, of that mindset that Harbaugh has where he shortens the game. You're going to have very limited opportunities to score in the red zone. So when you do, you need to capitalize. That is a big reason why the Chargers are the lowest scoring defense in the league. I think it is a little misleading. It makes it seem like they're this elite defense. I don't think they are. And I know on defense, they had the same mindset as offense. It's conservative, it's bend but don't break. It's a lot of too high shell safeties, basically playing prevent cover 4 a lot, forcing you to be patient and take the underneath, and they are daring you to run the ball. So red zone and running would be my 2 biggest keys, and probably running in the red zone to be able to convert in the red zone would be for offense. And then for defense, like I said, it's going to be, the easy answer is stop the run. Like I said, they're trying to get 2, 3 yards a game, but now if you can stop the run, get them in third and longs, they get out of what they're wanting to do. They run a lot of heavy personnel, a lot of 12 and 21 personnel, even 22 personnel. So that's 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, basically a lot of sets with receivers 2 or less. And that's good for us because McConkey is the best when he's in the slot. So if we can keep them out of those formations early on, but then if they get into third and longs and now they're forced into it, that's when we can start to get pressure and really affect them. So that's what I got on that. I got a whole bunch. If you want to know more, check out my article. I got way too much info. It'll probably take you several hours to read it, but that's what I did it for. So shout out Diver Steve. Appreciate you tuning in. We got my brother Darius. He said, who will show out to help the Texans win? I will be there. My brother will be there. I will tailgate. So let me know whenever you guys can, or let me know if anybody's going to tailgate. I'll try and meet up. I just found out a couple hours ago that I'll be able to go early. So I'm down to meet up at somebody's tailgate. Anchor Jack on Facebook says we miss Landry Locker on 610. I agree. But it is like a benefit that he's not on there because we get to see more of him. Him and Stutz are killing it with their content. I mean, you talk about hard working. Those guys are going live several times a day, every day, with great analysis, great insight. So those guys are crushing it. And right now we got James Roy with the H, baby. We got I got my Will Anderson Jr. shirt on at the end with Houston. Y'all know the rest. It says down there. And then behind me, I got the Houston versus everybody. Aziz punching Roshan Johnson. Josh says, underdogs, we going to get this dub. Facts, man. Initially, like when all this like media stuff started coming out about like Rex Ryan calling us a bye week, and then Ian Rappaport saying, everyone expects the Texans to lose this game. You get pissed off, and it's good for us to rally around. But I kind of like this position, like we're being slept on. And I really think what happened with this season overall is, and I'm guilty of this too, and probably most of us as fans, but the national media overhyped us going into the season. So we're probably like right here the whole time. And, they're talking about us like Super Bowl, but we're kind of like, right here. And then it overcorrects. So then now people are saying, oh, we're way down here. But the whole time we've kind of been right here the whole time. So it's not like, we're this terrible team. And then you juxtapose that with the Chargers team, who's basically the same team as us as far as success, strength of schedule. They had the 27th ranked strength of schedule, according to PFF. And I believe we're around 20th. So basically they had an easier schedule, but all you hear about is them talking about the Texans being 1-5 against teams with winning records, how our schedule was easy. We didn't beat any good teams, but you go and look at theirs and, they're, I think 2-5, or I wrote an article 3-5. 2 of their wins against winning teams are the Broncos. So it's not like some elite team. And then another one's against the Bengals. They're 9-8. That's not really a contending team. So it's just the hypocrisy on how we're being judged is crazy. But to my point, I kind of like it. It's better than what it was beginning of the year, where we're overhyped. So I think it was an overcorrection. And eventually, if we win this game, it may swing back the other way, but it may just be okay. This is where we're at. Let's see if we can win the divisional round. But I'm confident we can win this game. Shout out my guy TJ Roberts. He says Texans fans tend to show up for home playoff games. Hopefully, we can get 80-20 or 90-10 Texans fans tomorrow. Yeah, that was a big thing too. I know, like everyone was kind of asking, who would you rather play in the playoffs in the first round, the Chargers or the Steelers? The Steelers were a better matchup just because of the way they've been playing and solely from quarterback. Russell Wilson versus Justin Herbert. You take the Steelers all day, but a pro to playing the Chargers is their fans aren't going to travel nearly as well as the Steelers. I mean, you see the Chargers games, all their home games, they're outnumbered by the opponents no matter what fan base. So that's definitely an advantage. Coupled with the fact that TJ said we show out for home playoff games. I feel like, obviously that Ravens loss stunk and a lot of people were kind of down, but I feel like we've had enough time to kind of come off of that. And, people felt good about, the Titans game, albeit against a bad tanking team. They still played their ones for a good amount of that game. So I think people are kind of, getting excited again. And like Mark was saying, like it's a new season, it's the playoffs. I mean, we have a chance to correct all the wrongs from earlier. We were all disappointed in what happened, but now, you win this game and go into Kansas City more than likely and go toe to toe with them with the chance to win. Like everything is forgiven. So it's a clean slate. I feel like the fans kind of have that mindset too. I feel like we're all in, but it will be paramount for us to get off to a fast start. Kind of off that question I asked Mark about the crowd noise. I was saying if it would be like the Browns wild card game last year. He said it depends if it's like 10-7, like, yeah, but it's not going to be as crazy. So, if we get out to an early start and that crowd really gets involved, like it could really snowball. That's what happened against the Browns. And I've seen videos online of Justin Herbert. He seemed to be affected by crowd noise quite a bit. He's, a cerebral pocket passer. He's your prototypical, line up early, try and ID the defense and check the play and this and that and motions. And there's video clips of him getting frustrated when the ball's not snapped, when the guy's not motioning. So if we can have an effect as a crowd to, not allow them to hear or communicate that well, it could really snowball. I mean, they're one of the most disciplined teams in the NFL. They're like second or third, I want to say, in penalties. But if we can get pre-snap penalties on delay of games and false starts, that can not only push them back, but it can frustrate them. Let's see what Darius says. Will Dalton step up big? I don't know, but we need to. That's one of my keys too in the red zone. Like, in the red zone, running, targeting Nico, and then trying to find the tight ends. But we definitely need him to step up. I will say in that Titans game, that was the best I've seen him play maybe all year. Definitely down the stretch. He was making plays. He was blocking well. So that's encouraging to see. My boy JG, John Gomez, what's up, brother? He says Harris pick six. Hey, we saw one last year. That was the big viral video. When it was mic'd up, it was D'Amico and Christian Harris. There was a certain play that he told him to play a certain way. And I think he missed it the first time. And he told him, hey, don't worry, do it again. You'll get it next time. And sure enough, he did. He picked off Joe Flacco for a pick six. So that was a pretty cool moment. So we could definitely see that. And that's something that people that don't know the Texans don't realize is for the first time, we are going to have Christian Harris and Azeez Al-Shire on the field together at the same time. Like, it's going to be insane, dude. So, I mean, Christian Harris is like a freak athlete, like a super fast linebacker, sideline to sideline. And you got Azeez for a Mike linebacker. He's pretty damn fast too. But another factor of them two being together that I love is we all know about Azeez. He's an enforcer. Like, when we played the Ravens last year in the divisional round, I walked away, watching Roquan Smith and then watching the mic'd up afterwards where he just terrorized our offense. He was chirping the whole time. He was hitting CJ, close to being late. He was a tone setter. He really intimidated our offense. You could tell it had an effect. And so I walked away from that saying we need something like that. We wouldn't got Azeez, and that's exactly what he is. I mean, we saw the Trevor Lawrence play. So, however you feel about that, it's his mindset is like, if you run, I'm not going to give you any freebies. So, if Justin Herbert, who's been running quite a bit this year, tries to run early on and Azeez lets him know, he could, deter him from doing that in the future. And then Christian Harris is also this dog type of mentality we've been reminded of it these last few weeks when he's played. I mean, he's in there chirping, letting people know after the play, bumping guys, talking mess. So those two guys as enforcers with their speed and ability, like it's going to be awesome to watch. Bo Diggity, shout out Bo Diggity. If y'all don't follow Bo Diggity 713, he's really awesome on TikTok. I think he's also growing his YouTube and Instagram. He makes a lot of funny reels, original content. Shout out Bo Diggity. Y'all give him a follow. My boy Bennett Gist or Gist. I think I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. You never told me, but he's with Tomorrow's Retro, whom we hosted a watch party with for the last game. And depending on how this game shakes out, we might have to do another one. He says our defense is definitely prepared for this game. I agree, brother. 190 for life. As a Chargers fan, this is an even match. Yeah, so I would agree with that, man. So at the very least, that's what I think it is. I think it's two evenly matched teams. And I would say the one big thing is I think the head coaches are very similar in the sense that they're defensive minded head coaches. Neither one of them want to take big risks on offense. They want to rely and lean on their defense. They want to play field position. They want to limit turnovers. And so I feel like that's been tough for me and a lot of other Texans fans to realize about D'Amico Ryans is that the way he wants to win is not the way that we as fans want to win. We all want to win 42-0 and score a bunch of touchdowns. He wants to win like 10-0. He don't care how many points to score. He just wants to win and win with his defense. And we've seen that with D'Amico throughout the year. You can tell like his game plan can change. Like, the Bears game comes to mind. Lions, several other games where he's noticed, or the Dolphins game where he's noticed early on that he's confident in his defense and their offense not moving the ball to where he will just shut down offense and say, hey, Bobby, run the ball, nothing crazy. Let the defense get his field position. Turnovers will win it with them, and it's worked. So I feel like both coaches kind of have that mindset coming in. So I think it is a close game. 190 for life says Derwin James and Dion Henley only allowed 66 yards at tight ends this whole year. Yeah, so I mean, we need tight ends to step up, but it's going to be challenging. Derwin James is an absolute X factor. He's one of the most versatile players in the league. He can play high safety, he can play slot, he can play, which is nickel, or he can play linebacker. He's a very effective blitzer, probably the best blitzing defensive back in the league. So that's going to be something for us on offense. I'm sorry. Pass protection. We've struggled all year against nickel blitzes, and now they have one of the best nickel blitzers. We better have an answer for him. Uncle Ted, he says, "What up, buddy? It's Nathan." He's talking to Darius on the chat. 190 for life. Alt plus Slater plus Anderson plus Hunter equals great football. Yeah, man, that's probably the most exciting matchup in this game. You got two great defensive ends versus two great tackles, and something's got to give, right? You got guys that don't give up sacks or pressures, and you got guys that get a lot of sacks and pressures. So, in that regard, something's got to give. And then also something's got to give in the regard of the Texans secondary is, top 5 in terms of passer rating allowed, interceptions, all those metrics. And then on the flip side, you got Justin Herbert, who's having a historic year as far as protecting the football, only 3 interceptions all year. So on that end, something's got to give too. So it'll be exciting to watch both those matchups. Uncle Ted says Cade Stover breakout game. I'm here for it. Well, Farmer Gronk. I will say one thing about Cade Stover that I've noticed as far as blocking goes, excuse me, is that I feel like he's a much more effective blocker when he's on the move, when he has momentum. Like when he's like hand in the dirt, tight end, stationary, and like, having to receive a block, I feel like he kind of gets blown back. But when he's like an H back or a fullback, and if he's a fullback and he's the lead blocker with the head start, I feel like he's great at that. When he's like an H back and he's like pulling, or if he's a tight end and he's pulling like on a counter or a power, I feel like he's really good at that as well. So, but yeah, I would love to see some catches from him. Uncle Ted says he's calling it 2 TDs for Cade. I love it. We bless him. We need to see that. And then 1904 for life says Henley plus Derwin allowed less than 200 yards this whole year to tight end. So good luck to Schultz. Yeah, I mean, that would be a lot to ask for. Schultz, a lot of us fans will probably say that it's been an underwhelming year for him. I've questioned early on if he was hurt or something, just the way he's played. But he looked good last week. Hopefully he can step it up. I think one thing that I'm optimistic about, and I may be wrong about this, but I'm hoping that Slowick, has kind of held some things back within his playbook and comes out with some new wrinkles. We saw that last year. Down the stretch, the offense was kind of lackluster, but then come out in the Browns game, and we had all these play calls and play designs we hadn't seen. I mean, I was watching on Twitter, someone had reposted the Stroud highlights versus the Browns in the wild card playoff game, and I was getting damn goosebumps, bro. Like, not only was Stroud playing good, but the play calls were awesome. I mean, it was crazy. So yeah, I'm hopeful that Slowick has a few tricks up his sleeve or some adjustments he's been saving. I may be wrong on that, but 1904 Life says Herbert is feasting off of play action passing. That's how we set up our pass protection. Expect to see heavy play action passes. Yep. So that's why my biggest key on defense is to stop the run. Herbert, like you mentioned, his best passing is through play action. So if you can find a way to throttle the run, not only do you force them into third and longs, but you limit the effectiveness of play action because now you're not as scared of the run. I will ask you 1904 Life. I read a lot about how y'all run a lot of these heavy personnel packages, 2 and 3 running backs and tight ends with only 1 or 2 receivers. Y'all have Quentin Johnston is questionable with a thigh, and then Joshua Palmer is out with an ankle, I believe. I just want to get your thoughts on, do you think Quentin Johnson will play? And if he does or doesn't, do you think that y'all will go into 11 personnel a lot or not with three wide receivers? Because if these injuries affect y'all on that, y'all already like to not go into 3 wide receiver sets. I feel like that is an advantage for the Texans because we had lost Jalen Petrie. I just mix them two together. We lost Jalen Petrie about a month or so ago to a torn pectoral muscle, and he was playing at a very high level, in my opinion, at the star nickel role, where he's kind of like how Derwin was, as like a linebacker slash safety. But then he went down, so then we filled in with Jimmy Ward. He was almost a 1-for-1 replacement as far as play style, but then he went down against the Chiefs, and so now we don't have that linebacker slash nickel. It's gonna, if we do go into 11 personnel, or if y'all do go into 11 personnel, that nickel, in my opinion, will probably be Kamari Lassiter, and then that would force a Jeff Okuda into cornerback too. So there's a kind of a trickle down effect there. I just want to get your thoughts on if y'all think y'all will go into 11 personnel. But it sounds like y'all don't a lot already, and then you may not do it as much because of the injuries at the wide receiver position. And if that is the case, that is a benefit to us because then if y'all go, y'all's base offense is 12 or 21 personnel. We'll match that with our base defense being a 4-3, which now we finally have our linebackers healthy. Aziz has been back, a week now from suspension. Christian Harris was out most of the year, came back late, and then sat out last week, and now he's back. So you got Aziz and Christian back. You got Henry. You got Neville Hewitt can go in there. You got Jake Hansen. We got bodies that can go in there. So if we're able to run a 4-3 base defense, I think that's an advantage to us. The only way that I really see us losing this game is y'all running this heavy personnel and y'all just still run the ball down our throats. We saw it against the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas Day. In my opinion, that was the worst that I've seen a D'Amico Ryans led run defense. I mean, Derrick Henry, he was the running back, but it could have been anybody. He wasn't getting touched until 5, 6, 7 yards down the field. Part of me thinks, it is concerning because the Ravens run a similar offensive scheme as well. The Chargers do to the Ravens. They run these gap schemes with whams and traps where you got basically they take advantage of the aggressiveness of defensive linemen, and that is our style as a defensive line. They're taught to just attack, where they basically just run straight up field as hard and fast as they can, and then cause havoc, and then let the linebackers clean it up. And so basically, they would let the guys over commit and then wash them out with wham and trap blocks. But we didn't have Aziz in that game, and it could have been a dumbed down game plan by D'Amico on short rests and knowing we might play the Ravens again. But that is the one way I can see like us losing this game is if we can't stop the run with y'all's heavy personnel. And we got, let's see, my boy Shep. Shout out Shep. I hope Bobby got some new SHIT. I think so. I think he might, man. Old Bobby. He's coaching, to kind of silence all those haters. He says, for some reason, I think we're going to blow the Chargers out. Pause. Hey, I'm with it besides the pause worthy comment. Uncle Ted, Chargers defense has been getting gashed up by tight ends the last 2 weeks. And that's the thing too. Like you see all these stats about how good the Chargers have been, but like their last two opponents were the Raiders and the Patriots, I believe. So I mean, you know, it's all relative. And their defense overall, if you look at their schedule, they haven't played a lot of high-powered offenses. And the good ones they have played have been successful. The Bengals, the Ravens. I don't have the list up, but I mean, pretty much any high-powered offense. Not saying that we're a high-powered offense. I would like to say middle of the pack. We've been kind of, bottom quarter ish, a little above that, but I think we're trending to be at least middle of the pack. And so I think that bodes well for us. I mean, the Chargers I've been watching because they've been on prime time the past 6, 7, 8 weeks. That defense has been bad. It's not reflective of what we've seen on the stats. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. So um, Lance says, "Yes, sir. Good points, G." And then he says, "Yeah, I'm not even going to read that comment. That's a big pause, bro." Uh, and then 1904 Life says, "Heavy 12 possible, but knowing Harbaugh and signing Zeke also may affect. Look out for Darius Davis." Yeah, so I heard about Darius Davis. I don't know much about him, but um, and so, and what way would the Zeke signing affect? I know y'all have. That's another thing too. Is both of y'all starting running your first two string running backs, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, are both questionable. So potentially without both of them, maybe at least one of them, Zeke going to come off the street. I believe Darius Davis. I believe he is a receiver. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then Uncle Ted, 5 times this year, Chargers have given up 80 plus more yards to a tight end. Wow, that's crazy. And then Uncle Ted, Ravens, and Green Bay, Andrew. So yes, kind of to my point is the better offenses, but our tight end, we haven't utilized our tight ends this year. 1904 says we get gashed after play breaks down. Every deep throw came after third option read. That bodes well for us because unfortunately all year CJ has had terrible pass protection, so he's been forced to just flush the pocket and extend the play. And he's very good at extending the play, keeping his eyes down the field, buying time. So, and when that happens, he looks for Nico. Him and Nico just have this incredible connection in that regard where they can, almost always, find a connection. So that's a good point. That's a good thing to look out for. Hopefully we're not having CJ hold on to the ball and we're getting rid of the ball quick. I do know that y'all run a lot of prevent, two high safeties, cover 4, cover 2. So, if we do, what I would like to see coming out of the gate is if we throw the ball, is to throw quick game. It's in my article. I pulled some stats from Next Gen, but Nico Collins, he's got like crazy numbers against off coverage, like 5 or plus yards. And then the Chargers run off coverage 5 or plus yards quite often. That's cover 4. And so basically just throw him, like, I hate to say it, but like wide receiver screens will probably be good. Hitches, slants, quick outs, all that stuff should be good against cover 4. Uncle Ted says Dobbins will play. I agree. He'll play. Jesse Gonzalez, do you see Deontay Johnson getting more involved? I do. I mean, I was surprised at how uh, good he looked out there against the Titans. He had 20 snaps, and I think he had 4 targets, 2 catches. Yeah, I mean, it's all about him knowing the playbook. I mean, the pass he caught from Davis Mills, it was like a 12-yard stop route. And the route was awesome. I mean, he's got the skills, bro. Like, he came off the ball fast as hell, put on the brakes, dropped the defender. Good ball by Mills, caught it. So he's got the skills. I think he will get involved. And I've said it before, out of those 20 snaps, he played 17 out wide. So that's, around 80% roughly, I believe, or even higher, of outside versus slot, which is basically what Tank was, which is the Z receiver. So you're outside that can play inside. So from, that standpoint and skill set, I feel like he's a great replacement for Tank. It's just a matter of knowing the playbook. BG says Zeke didn't do shit when we played the Cowboys. Facts. And then he also says he's not doing nothing tomorrow. Facts. And then we got Uncle Ted. Zeke is there to pass block. Shit, he ain't gonna pass block nobody. BG says Zeke is gonna get blown up. Unc. Yeah, I mean, Zeke. It was said that they released him from the Cowboys to allow him to join a playoff contender to try and win a Super Bowl. So I mean, that's the crux of it. 1904 for life. Got a new sub here. Stay blessed and good luck this week. Bolt up. Hey, I appreciate you, bro. I'll do the same. I mean, I'm not the type that like talks mess to other opposing fan bases. Like I'm very active on social media, like Twitter, and like I'll like make comments that are just like I'm talking right here, and then another opposing fan will like take it as me talking crap. I'm like, bro, I'm just making an observation. I'm not like talking out of arrogance. So I appreciate you tuning in. It's been good discourse with you. It's always nice to talk to the opponent's fan base because y'all obviously know your team better than us. So appreciate you, and I'll return the favor, brother. Good luck to you guys. Uncle Ted says, I hope. And then we got Burrito Foot. What's good from the UK? Oh, let's go, baby. What time is it in the UK right now? Lance Shepard, wide receiver screens. Dan, Lord knows I don't want to see that. Yeah, I mean, we'll probably see that. And we need to run the ball. So call me dumb, but I'm optimistic. This new offensive line, obviously LT's your anchor at left tackle, but Titus moved to left guard, 4 or 5 weeks ago, however long it was. He's been doing good. And I will say that Titus is a better pass blocker than run blocker at left guard, but the run blocking starting to come on. Patterson's been, pretty solid at center the whole time. Shaq Mason was the right guard, got hurt. And so this last game, we had Juice Scruggs at right guard for the first time. He's been a center, been a left guard. It was his first time playing right guard. And then obviously Blake Fisher, the rookie at right tackle, who's been there the same time since Titus moved to left guard. That combination of the O-line, in my opinion, is the best iteration yet. Shaq Mason, he was old, reliable vet, but this year, for whatever reason, he hasn't been the same. He's been kind of inconsistent. I don't know if it's father time or what, but, limited sample size against a tanking team, but that tanking team had a really good interior defensive line and Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat, both of whom played 40 to 60 snaps against our interior, which was Titus, Patterson, everyone except LT pretty much played 40 to 60 snaps too. So it was good on good, and that was promising to see. And I will say for the Chargers, they have great defensive ends in Bosa and Mack, but we have LT will eliminate one of those. So there is an issue on the outside, whether it's Mack or Bosa going against Fisher. But I would say their interior to me is not super impressive, which bodes well for us because that is our weakness. So now we have some confidence and CJ can step up in the pocket. The run game can be better as well. So yeah, like a lot of this stuff, in my opinion, comes down to matchups, and I feel like we match up well. Uncle Ted said he's a Steelers prototype wide receiver. Gotta love it. Talking about Deontay. Silvino says need to keep mixing it on third downs. I agree. So it's playoffs too. So you have that element to where, you're not worried about resting guys. It's all or nothing. So I love Dare. Great special teams, good receiving back. He was a great pass pro guy. He's kind of struggled a little bit. But yeah, it's just tough when you take Mixon out, man. I mean, let the guy eat. Lance says, gee, you got super chats on here. I'm working on it. Actually, I just applied for it earlier today. I forgot about it. I've got too much stuff going on. I'll let y'all know when I do. It should be within a week or two. I need to get that rolling for show. For show. Burrito Foot, it's 7 p.m. here. Damn, man. In the UK. Jesse Gonzalez says, I see the defense giving Herbert issues. People forget this defense has made elite quarterbacks look silly. Yeah, so that's the biggest reason why I am optimistic is the fact that, like you just mentioned, I mean, Josh Allen, MVP candidate, went 9 for 30 against us, and that was almost all because of the game plan. Yes, Jalen Petrie and Jimmy Ward are gone, but we also have added people since then, and Christian Harris. We have our front seven fully healthy for the first time, fully Fatukasi, like Mark and I talked about. You got Danico Autry, who I think pretty sure is going to play. You got Tim Settle Jr., who's been a stud. You got Will and Daniil. You got Jerry Hughes. You got Derek Barnett. I mean, you got like the depth of our front seven is insane, bro. Like, I can't wait to see what D'Amico comes up with, some kind of game plan. And he's had a little bit of time to prepare for it too. So let's see. I'll take a couple more here, and we'll hop off. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Burrito Foot says, I've only ever met one other Texans fan over here. There's like none here. Well, we got to change that, man. I feel like if we make a playoff run, you can kind of be our ambassador, dude. Make us worldwide, make us global. And, I know people don't like it, but I want the Texans to play a London game, and I would love to go. And I think next year might be the year. So maybe we'll have to meet up, brother. Crooked and Steep, we live. We bless him, baby. Appreciate you tuning in, brother. Burrito Foot, what specific changes do you think we should do this offseason? I haven't thought too much into that yet, but I mean, the biggest glaring issue is interior O line. Definitely, I think we need some veteran leadership in the middle, whether it's at center or guard. Maybe get one via free agency and also the draft. It is part of the element too. Like, how much of the interior offensive line struggles are talent or personnel driven, or how much of it is scheme or coaching. So you don't like, we have a lot invested in our O line as far as draft capital and money. So it would kind of suck to, invest time in these younger guys, developing them, and them being like right on the cusp to making the next step to cut them to get someone in who's on the downside. But that would be priority number one. Receiver obviously needs to be addressed. I would say second at least, just from the fact of what we have on paper. Nico Collins is like our true only starting receiver, in my opinion, at the moment under contract. Mechie can be that guy in the slot. We've yet to see that promising game from him. I think he's still learning for one, but I think two, part of it is we haven't had a good enough pass pro to really give him a good enough chance to show what he can do in the slot. I mean, we've seen flashes. It's just tough to really get a hard eval on him. And then Deontay Johnson, Tank Dell, likely out for the whole year next year. If he does come back, it's going to be late in the year. So Deontay Johnson, we just got playing Z for Tank. He's, his contract expires end of year. We could re-sign him. But for receiver, I do lean going young in the draft for at least one. I wish Mechie would be the guy that we think he can be, but if he doesn't, I would love to get a young slot receiver in the draft like Emeka Ibuka. There's a couple other guys I haven't dove in quite yet, but I know for a fact every year in the draft, there's a stable of wide receivers. You can get starting wide receivers in the second, third round. I mean, look at Lad McConkey. He was someone I was super high on. I was vouching for us to get him until we signed Stephon Diggs. I feel like he would have been great for this team, and you see it translate. But yeah, so just like from an overall roster construction, I think we should emphasize draft capital wise, money wise on the O line, specifically the interior. And I feel like you can get more value for less at the skill position. I think just overall between free agency and draft, I feel like I don't want to say a dime a dozen, but like wide receiver wise, you might have like this top tier and there's only X amount. So they're worth that top end dollar. And we got that in Nico and we got it at steal for 24 million APY. But I feel like it's not the best use of your money to go. Let's just say we traded for Garrett Wilson and then now you have 1 or 2 years left on his contract, and then he's going to want to renew his contract at the same time that CJ and Will and Sting, all these guys want to renew too, and he's going to want 30 million a year. So you're going to give away a first, second round pick for 1-2 years of a guy just to not pay him because you're not going to have the money. So that's why I think going young. And before, I think last year getting Diggs was smart because we did need that veteran presence. But now I think Nico has been here long enough. Everyone else has, Mechie's had another year. He gave Mechie his mentorship to teach him, the ropes of this, how to work and all the nuances of route running in the slot, reading defenses, all that stuff. But the biggest thing is Nico is that solidified alpha veteran number one now. So we don't need to add another vet. So I would prefer to go young and cheap is what I would say. Yeah, I didn't even talk. I meant to ask Mark, man. I was going to talk about all pro Sting, baby. Long overdue, much deserved. Javi Heat, shout out Javi Heat. If y'all don't follow him on all platforms, he puts out good content. He says, I think there's a decent chance we play in Mexico City next year. That would be lit. I would try to go too. Crooked and Steep. I see you, TJ. Sub D. And we got Javi Heat. Would love to do content there. Yeah, that would be dope, bro. Burrito Foot. You think a Garrett Wilson trade will happen? I just touched on that. I don't think it will, nor we should. I mean, if we got him, cool, like the connection with CJ from Ohio State, but I just don't think the value or what it would cost us would make sense. And then again, him needing a new contract, I feel like going younger would be better. But I still wouldn't be mad about the talent. Henry Jack, can the Texans draft Ashton Jeanty at number 19 after the Texans draft an O-line? No, I mean we only have one, and honestly, too, like knowing Casario, we might trade back out of the first round again and get an extra second round pick. But running back is pretty far down the list. I mean, you could even put tight end maybe as our third need. With Schultz, he's another year on contract. I guess you could cut him, but He had an underwhelming year this year. Stover's been, decent. He's a rookie. He's kind of inconsistent, but you watch some of these teams with like game-changing tight ends like Brock Bowers. Obviously, that was a high pick. Brock Bowers, guys like George Kittle, guys that can really change the game, blocking and receiving. I mean, in this offense, if we keep Slowick, which I suspect we will, it's the Shanahan scheme. I don't think that D'Amico will go away from it. In this offense, in this scheme, a tight end is crucial. A good blocking, receiving tight end can do wonders for you. A lot of the problems we've seen in pass pro, we all harp on the O line, but a lot of the issues are from tight ends. Whether it's Stover or Schultz. I mean, how many times have we seen like a nickel blitzer come off the edge and we just let him go from the tight end position? So it's not. We do need to remember that. I'm guilty of it too, blaming the O line, but the pass protection as a whole, tight ends and running backs deserve blame too. There's been a number of times where Mixon or Dare missed their guy, but that's another conversation for later. But I think that our rules for our protection scheme are kind of flawed. Asking certain guys to do things the way we block, you're asking a running back to block a fucking. Sorry, I just cussed. Try not to. We're asking a running back to block a freaking 300-pound nose tackle rather than just have the center stay on him. It's just like these weird things that happen. So, yeah, that was a little tangent there. But yeah, Angel says we need to draft another good lineman and then draft receiver. Yeah, I'm with it, man. Yeah, that's all I got. But yeah, I appreciate y'all tuning in. That was super cool that Mark joined us. I will go ahead right now and upload this to audio version on podcasts on Apple and Spotify. If y'all are on there, please subscribe. Even if you don't listen, it'll really help me out. Same thing for all my social medias. If you're not on all of them, but if you have one, just please follow just to help. I am at Texans Commenter right there. That's a sign for my brother from Christmas. On X, on TikTok, on YouTube, and then on Instagram and Facebook, it's at Houston Stressans. And then obviously my website, houstonstressans.com. We can take a quick peek. If you haven't, I would highly recommend checking out my article. Normally I write them, I do it pretty brief, but this is playoffs, and I've been, in the weeds on all the content, all the analysis. And so basically, I already have the archive. And so I just wrote an article sharing everything. It's got everything you could ask for. And it's just my opinions, but there's still like factual stuff that you can take yourself to form your own opinion on the game. But yeah, we got Henry Jack. I'll talk to you again soon on the next live. Yeah, appreciate you, bro. Anytime. And then also too, for anybody in here, like my DMs are always open. I try to reply to every comment that's a question. I'm most active on Twitter, so sometimes I miss comments on TikTok or Instagram. But if you ever DM me, I'm there. But yeah, on the website too, right here, feel free to subscribe to my newsletter. I sent it out earlier today with, all the good content for the week. It's free. But yeah, my article is right here. I'll just scroll through it. It may take a second to load because it's got a shitload of content on it. I mean, it took me forever to write, but you see, I got a bunch of embedded tweets. I got kind of like an intro, and then I got storylines, different things going on. But yeah, let me just give it a second to load it because it is a lot of stuff right there. And then yeah, too. I mean, let me make sure my face is on here. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, and then also, a way to support me is merch. I got the if they went to Houston, F them. I got the Houston versus everybody shirt. I have a Stingley one and a Nico one, and I have a Kamari and Kalen one that I've yet to release. I'm trying to make sure they're just right, but I need to get those out ASAP because they're pretty dope. But yeah, I mean, it's got like anything that you need to know that's pertinent to this game is on here. And then, I kind of go through my points, and all the videos back up my points, about Ladd having played with Kamari at Georgia. Will he cover him? Here's his interview about it. My keys, red zone. And you got D'Amico talking about the red zone to support my point. Further detail on red zone. And yeah, a lot of detail on red zone. You got rushing. So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff. It's free. It's on the site. Feel free to check it out. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. If anybody ever needs anything, just give me a holler. I appreciate every single one of y'all. It's been a blast. Shout out to Mark. He's the GOAT for coming on. And let's see, Henry Jack, and I will go into the Texans game on Saturday. Bet I'll be there too, man. I can't wait. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I will See y'all online. Appreciate y'all. We blessing. Oh, hold up. Damn, don't tell my wife. That's my wife right here. Y'all back off, but appreciate it, babe. All right, we'll see y'all.